Welcome back, part 2 of the Kelly Moran vlog about the early days at Kelly Moran and also about the last days too. I'm very blessed because I'm able to ride my motorcycle on the beach, burn some tracks all over the beach and enjoy life. And unfortunately, some don't get that blessing to do that. And Kelly Moran is one of those people who's not going to be able to get the chance to go motorcycle riding anymore. So I feel very fortunate. But getting back to the story, Kelly was just a soft-hearted person. You know, Kelly touched everybody's life, even from fans to racers, everybody. People that didn't even know Kelly, he touched their life. He touched the life of his grandma by presenting her the trophy for his championship. I mean, he just did everything nice for people. That he just had that kind heart. You know, some people have that. It's very rare because most people aren't really kind-hearted. Most people are not like Kelly. He liked everybody, even Kenny Carter. You know, he was best friends with Kenny Carter. A lot of the Americans didn't like him. I talked to one of the American riders who I raced with, Larry Costa, excuse me. He told me that Kenny didn't like the racers who were competing against him, who are good Americans. But we know that Kelly Moran was one of those riders who was good and that competed against him. So Kelly Moran just touched everybody's life. But Kelly was just a good person, and he was a good person to me. I don't know exactly what happened with the Costa Mesa Speedway and him, but when I was racing back in 2008, just a couple years before his passing, I finished one of my races and I was in the pits by the gate, and there was a person at the outside of the gate at the pits, and he was Kelly, and I got to chat with Kelly for a few minutes, and Kelly was so nice to me. And I don't know if he ever saw me race, probably not, but he was always nice to everybody. And one of the things he said, you know, you're my favorite racer. And I said, me? Your favorite racer? I don't think so. You saw a lot of great racers. He didn't say best racer. He said favorite. And I said, why am I your favorite? And he said, I don't know. I always like watching you ride. And I was kind of shocked because having watched Kelly and raced against him for so many years, it's a little shocking that somebody would say that. But, you know, that is just the heart that Kelly had. He had a good heart, and he was always kind to people. He was always good, and he just, made people feel good. And he made me feel good, because the last person I expected to say I was his favorite rider was Kelly Moran. And I'm not sure if he meant it or not, but he said it, and it made me feel good. And that's what Kelly Moran did. He made people feel good. And he was such a good, kind person. And I asked him, I said, Kelly, why aren't you here in the races, you know? He was a former national champion and stuff. And I don't know what his excuse was, but he said he wasn't allowed to come in, maybe for free or something. And I know Kelly was probably hurting for money. I was so busy racing at the time, getting ready for the main event. I didn't have time to talk with him in full length, but I thought that was kind of very kind of him to say that. And his health just kept deteriorating. You know, smoking is a very bad habit, and drinking, and that's one way to have a early death, loss of life, is to do smoking and drinking. And Kelly lived one hell of a life, and as a result, his health really suffered. And that's so sad to say, because he's a little guy and he probably abused his body quite heavily, and his body was probably not super strong. But nobody's body is super strong when you mix tobacco and different things like that. But we can't judge Kelly based on that, because his heart was so genuine and good. And he just had such a horrible ending to his life. it was lonely when I saw him. I looked at him and I said, is this Kelly Moran? You know, like the famous Kelly Moran. And I was so sad because it seemed like towards the ending of his life was so sad and so like out of the limelight and alone. And there was a lot of the Dream Team members that came and was good to Kelly, like Ron Preston, Dennis Sagalos, Bruce Penhall, Steve Gresham was there, and lots of people were nice to him and were good to him. But still, the loneliness of being alone and slowly dying, it's kind of a personal thing. And it's so sad to see somebody with such a glorious past, you know, have this sad ending. It just didn't seem right. It didn't seem fair. And, you know, he slowly died, and I think it was like April 10th of 2010. Kelly passed away, and before his passing, he wanted to go to the speedway races in Victorville, and he wanted to kind of be a part of the speedway scene, but his health was failing him, and it was just really difficult for Kelly to get out anymore because he was dying. And it's really sad, you know, that such a great human being had such a tragic ending like that. And he passed away, and it was sad, you know, the whole speedway world mourned the passing of Kelly Moran. And they had a nice memorial one day after his passing at the Costa Mesa Speedway. Most all the Dream Team riders came out, and they had a service for Kelly at the Speedway track, at the starting gate at the Costa Mesa Speedway. And they scattered his ashes at the starting line. And that's where Kelly probably would have liked to be, at the starting or the finish line. Kelly liked to win races, so he probably wanted the finish line, not the starting line. But it was just sad to see such a human being that was so good, you know, have such a lonely and tragic end to his life. And, you know, it's just kind of weird how life, you know, is so short and so fragile. And one minute we're up and the next minute we're down. And it happens to all of us. And that's the way life works. And it's really sad because Kelly was such a good human being. And even now, you know, I go to Facebook and stuff, and I see nonstop posts and pictures of Kelly and his glory days. And, you know, he was so great in England, and he was such a superstar, national champion. He was shooting for a world championship. He placed fourth place in a few world championships and just off the podium. But that shows you how good he was. He could ride the long track really well. And Kelly Moran was just a fantastic human being. And it's just a tragic, really, way to end. He was like 50 years old or something like that. And he was just far too young to pass away. He had a lot of years left. And it's really sad to see what had happened, you know, like how the ending was to such a cool life. He lived in the limelight. He lived a fast life. He lived a glorious life. Probably money came and gone fast for Kelly because he just was a firecracker, and he lived one hell of a life for sure. But it's really sad when you see the ending of a very successful person's life. And all we can say is rest in peace, Kelly. And until we meet again, I just pray for your family, your brother, Sean, and just your whole family, that they are comforted, because it's a tragic loss. And we still remember Kelly to this day. And Kelly is really one of the most popular riders around that of the past. And we're really sad to see Kelly go. So rest in peace, Kelly Moran. God bless you.